When what worked stops working, I point purpose-driven leaders to Prolific, the growth firm. They turn plans into results with full-service marketing and strategy, focused on outcomes, not vanity metrics. Head to prolifichq.com to learn more.
I define success as what I'm doing compared to what I should be doing. And I say this very literally because if I'm supposed to be running a business and yet I am working a job that I don't like, but I'm being scared doing it, even if that's a great company, if I stay in that place, that's not successful. It might be financially successful, but spiritually you're misaligned. Emotionally, you're drained. And so success to me is truly whatever you're doing to do the very best that you can on it.
Hi, I'm Dave Neff, host of Talent Scout. On this show, we shine a light on Indiana's next generation of leaders who are making a difference in business, community, and civic life. These are real conversations about purpose, mentorship, and building a future that matters. Join me as we invest in leadership that lasts. Welcome back to another episode of Talent Scout with Dave Neff, CEO of the 500 Festival. I am thrilled today to have Olivia West on the show. Olivia and I really don't know Olivia. We're just getting to know each other, but she is a keynote speaker and partner at Driven Content Marketing. Welcome to the show, Olivia.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me today. I am really excited to join you, and I actually think that we have some similarities, with some Purdue backgrounds. I know you worked there leading kind of the sport and NIL stuff, and I'm a proud Boilermaker alum, so let's get into it today.
I know, we're going to get into it. Well, you seem to be everywhere. I see you at Pacer games, Fever games, and you've done a lot already at a young age, and you definitely seem to be ubiquitous. So I was like, man, I need to learn her story and have her on Talent Scout because this show is all about just up and coming leaders from across the city. And so I'd love if you could, for our audience, just tell us about your childhood, where you grew up, what it was like, your family.
Stories are so important, isn't it? Because without them, things feel really transactional. Just that we're going through the motions, or we're like, okay, do this for me, answer this email, let's drive to this result. So I really like that we're tipping this conversation off with story, because origin story makes us who we are. My origin story starts in northern Indiana, LaPorte, Indiana. I grew up showing horses, showing pigs. I was a 10-year 4-H member, and I played basketball. So your traditional Indiana story, I guess.
Yeah.
And I grew up with a wonderful mom. Her name is Kathy, single mom. She is a nurse. To this day, works as a nurse, a fantastic nurse, which you would kind of think that nurses are like super empathetic and kind. And she is to her patients. But I remember when I fell off my moped and broke my wrist, she was like, "It's fine, you're being dramatic." Nevertheless, she is absolutely wonderful to this day, one of my biggest supporters and cheerleaders. And everyday life to me looked like a very, very strong focus on academic. I mean, it was a no-nonsense type of household. You will achieve in the classroom, and then all of your extracurricular activities, you will commit. You will do it. You're not interested, you're committed. And so I started showing horses when I was in 3rd grade, when 4-H starts. Wow. And I fell into that in such a blessed way. I actually started with a program called Horseless Horse, which is kind of a funny name. But what that means is you would borrow somebody else's horse and you would learn. Yeah. You would kind of test it out to see if you like it. Because I don't know if you know this, Dave, but equestrian, that is an expensive hobby. Yeah. My goodness. Yeah. It was like people who sometimes retire from doing that will then go fly planes, and they say that costs just as much. Anyway.
Which so I grew up in Indy, and I didn't even know what 4-H was till I got to college, and I went to Ball State, and I'm meeting all these kids from rural Indiana, and 4-H was everywhere, FFA. So when you say show horses, show pigs, like I think I truly know what that means, but like maybe explain, like you're kind of getting them cleaned up, looking a certain type of way. Like what does it actually mean to show a horse or show a pig?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This
Break it down for me.
This is a good point of clarification. 4-H is a program where you show your animal, you prepare your project, and then you exhibit it at the fair. So for me, I grew up in LaPorte County, and we had an amazing county fair, one of the oldest county fairs in the whole state. Yeah. And LaPorte County Fair is usually the week right after 4th of July week. So you can celebrate a little bit during 4th of July, but you better dial in and lock in and make sure that your animals are ready. Now, there are a couple of different areas of 4-H you could do. You could do small projects, maybe gardening or arts and crafts, or you could do different projects, modeling projects, which I've always thought was really cool. I just did not do those type of projects. Yeah. I did livestock projects. And so what that means is 365 days a year, I was caring for my animal every single day. And I was then putting them into the show and on display that 1 week during fair.
Okay.
I had a couple of horses throughout my 10-year 4-H career, but one thing that was always steadfast was staying ready, just staying ready every single day, Dave, going in the barn, caring for my horses. And you know how our weather is here in Indiana. Through snow, sleet, hail, 100-degree summers. I mean, it was insufferable. And that very much laid my foundations in entrepreneurship. Now, horses was just for pure pleasure. There was no making money off of that. There was none of that. You know, you wear the nice clothes, you buy the really expensive saddles, all that stuff.
What are they looking for, though, when you show? Is it like the temperament of the horse, like its appearance?
Depends. It definitely depends in the different disciplines. You know, probably much like racing. You know, oval and then course are different. And so I showed Western pleasure. So they were looking for a horse and rider that looked effortless, that you were almost just gliding around the rail. When actually, I mean, my hands, my pressure of my legs were all guiding the horse into what to do. And so it's very dependent on your discipline. Like I said, I did Western pleasure. There was English, dressage, reining. I mean, there's a whole slew of different disciplines. I played to my strengths, though, both what I liked and also what my animal, my horse, was best at. He was pretty lazy. He was pretty lax, easygoing, and so Western happened to be our thing. But yeah, you know, I'm talking about this. I'm smiling because that's where I got great. Was in the barn. Those late nights, those early mornings, that's really where I also think I established a baseline for what self-care looked like and felt like. It didn't look like going to get a massage. It looked like taking care of my responsibilities. It looked like every single day doing what I needed to do, but also what I wanted to do. When you have a horse, you love that animal. You know, I know people love their dogs. There's nothing like loving a horse because you also have to trust that horse. Every time you get on that horse's back, man, it's do or die, you know? And so you have to have a lot of trust, a lot of established trust and communication with an animal to ride it, to show it, and then also to care for it each and every day.
Wow. So clearly a shaping force was caring for, showing horses. Did you say pigs as well?
Yeah. Okay. So pigs, I've got to be honest, and I know that my mom's gonna watch this, my family's gonna watch this. Pigs was more of a family thing. All of my aunties and cousins and uncles showed hogs. It was just the family thing. You know, you were of age in 3rd grade. You're gonna buy yourself a hog at the auction. And it's kind of funny, Dave. We never really went on spring break trips because the hog sales, all the auctions were during spring break.
Wow.
And so that's what we would do for spring break every year. Is like, okay, Olivia, go to the auction and buy a hog. And then, you know, raise it throughout the summer and then sell it. That was actually my introduction to entrepreneurship. Because here's what happened. My mom gave me some money to start. When I was in 3rd grade, she said, hey, you got $500. Go and buy the best pigs that you can. And so I would, you know, go in the pen and they were all run around. And I knew what to look for because I studied, I learned it. And also from my family, you know, just being around and asking good questions. And so then I selected which ones I wanted to go with. That gave me the best chance to win. And again, like you said, what do they look for? It's different in every breed. It's different. However, I knew genuinely what to look for. And so I would choose the hog that I thought would give me the best chance to win. And I would pay some money for it. And then for the next 12, 15 weeks, I would then walk the hog, exercise the hog, invest in its health and nutrition. And then I'd go find buyers for it. You know, I would go around to all these different businesses that myself or my family did business with. I'm talking insurance agencies. I'm talking restaurants. You know, anyone that you do residual business with or my family did residual business with, I went in there and said, hey, I'm Olivia. I'm a hardworking 4-H kid. I'm going to sell my hog July 7th. Would you be interested in investing in my hog? And the thing about it is, they don't really want the hog. They wanted the advertising right. They wanted to say, we support 4-H kids. We support education, the next generation. And so I started doing that. And that was the first time that I was really exposed to entrepreneurship because the $200 pig I bought at the sale, by the time I got it to the fair, it was worth $1,500.
Wow. Yeah.
Because of the work that I put in, because of the value that I added, but additionally because of the relationships that I was able to galvanize and the investment I was able to pull in. And so it was crazy that in 3rd grade I was learning this. But I think really quickly I learned when you put work in, you get better results out.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what I do right now in business.
Yeah, that's great. So 4-H was formative. Playing basketball. How was your basketball career in high school?
My basketball career in high school definitely peaked around junior year. I mean, I was starting shooting guard. You know, I'm pretty tall. I'm 5'10".
Dreams of playing in college, or
not really?
Not really.
No,
Okay.
I'm a realist, and as much as I think having dreams is great, you also have to believe that if it came true, that you would be happy with that result. And if I'm being honest, I really liked basketball. I like it. It kept me active socially. It was great because I could pull up to any gym and I know I can hold my own. Still to this day in Indianapolis, I can go to any gym and hold my own.
Okay.
I'm a great shooter. I'm a good passer. I've got good basketball IQ and court acumen. But I just never wanted to take it to the next level. And I knew that. Maybe it was maybe it was God, kind of blessing me with just vision for other things. And really, I was okay with stopping basketball after high school. Now, I did want to win a sectional championship, definitely. Because that just certifies you. Yeah, it did.
Great.
Yeah, a couple times.
Nice.
And definitely had some big games, 20, 25 plus point games, which always feels good. My whole family was in the stands, so, I needed to show them something. But basketball was really, I think, something that kept me socially plugged in. Horses and the agriculture community did do that to a certain extent, but also, it was a very kind of individual pursuit. It was me every day in the barn. It was me doing this work. And as much help as I had, it still was not team driven and team led. So I definitely think playing basketball taught me how to play with teams and then also just how to be a part of a community. Like I said, my mom, very, very busy single mom.
Do you have any siblings?
No siblings, just me.
Yeah.
And I learned very quickly that if I was going to do this basketball thing, that I need to figure out and coordinate rides to practice and rides, from practice. And, if there's a big tournament over the weekend and my mom has to work, I'm going to have to convince his family to let me go with them.
Yeah.
And so I was very much raised by the community. And I don't know if that's just something that the world has changed and people don't do that as much anymore, but I'm a product of so many households loving me, welcoming me in to eat dinner with them. And not because my mom didn't have it. She was just busy. She was working. Or, sometimes maybe she would get off at, 6 p.m. and then have an hour drive home. And so
you learned to be independent at a pretty young age.
Absolutely. But at the same time, communally raised. I was raised by a whole community. It's actually kind of funny when I go back home to visit my family because they still live up there. It's like people will jokingly text me and say, "Hey, do you want to come over for dinner?"
Yeah.
Because that's what I did. I would eat dinner at someone else's house like 4 nights a week. And that's just what it was.
Yeah.
And it feels so good to this day to still be welcomed in because we live in such an individualistic society.
Yeah.
Like, this is my house. This is my yard. It's like, what's the point of having this big house and this big yard if you're not going to invite folks over to enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. So you go from LaPorte, Indiana, the region, to Purdue. How did you land on West Lafayette and Purdue coming out of high school?
Purdue University was in my blood my whole life, pretty much. I have a lot of family that were alum of Purdue. Some of them studied education to be teachers. Some of them were engineers. I've got uncles who were engineers and nuclear engineers, just brilliant people. And so I always knew that college was going to be for me. I didn't necessarily know where. And to be honest, Dave, it was a total financial decision. I applied to a couple of different schools and I was just weighing who's going to give me the most money to go to school. Because what I knew is that I did not want to graduate with student debt. I realize that's not everyone's situation, but I know for me and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to build, that there were going to be ways for me to pay for school and not come out with debt. And so I am so, so grateful. One of the best blessings that I was able to get a full ride academic scholarship to Purdue.
Wow.
That was contingent on keeping very high marks in my grades, but I performed very, very well on my SAT and I had my choice at Purdue. And
that's great.
I also studied agriculture, which I think that program was looking to attract Ag Econ.
Okay, yeah.
Ag Econ with the sales and marketing. That program specifically was looking to attract diverse talent.
Yeah.
And I think it was a wonderful opportunity for me to go there, leverage those learnings, and then build what I'm doing now. But Purdue was always in my blood. There are pictures of me as a little girl wearing like one of those fake Purdue football helmets. So it was really nice to have people in my family who went there. They've all gone on to lead very successful careers and lives, live all over the U.S., have done some great stuff. So I always kind of had that in my windshield that if you go to the school, if you do a good job, you will have some great opportunities.
Thanks for joining us here on Talent Scout. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, so stay tuned. Most organizations hit a point where growth stalls. The message blends in, the site stops converting, pipeline softens. That's when I tell leaders about Prolific, the growth firm for purpose-driven leaders. Through full-service marketing and strategy, they clarify the story, rebuild your go-to-market, and drive sales. Most importantly, Prolific holds itself accountable to the metrics that matter to you. If you're ready for your next growth stage, learn more about Prolific at prolifichq.com. How did you make the decision to go from when you graduated Purdue to join a Fortune 150 company in Indianapolis?
I needed a job.
Yeah.
I still think, unfortunately, Dave, I had a very naive understanding of what type of job or career that I wanted. I, probably about halfway through my time at Purdue, decided that I did want to go the corporate route. But it was because of the capabilities that corporate, I guess, the capabilities that I perceived that corporate would give you. I came from a very small rural background.
Yeah.
What I saw myself was in boardrooms and making big decisions. And so I said, well, I want to put myself in position to do some of those things. There was a company that had their day at Purdue. And I remember I went up and they had a recruiter there. And I said, hey, I've heard about this company and you guys do pretty good work. You're pretty popular. And I think I'd be a great fit to work there. Mm-hmm. Did not know any products that they sold or anything, right? But I am always well-researched and well-prepared. And so I had a couple conversations, interviewed, and got the internship, and then got the return offer. So I took it. I mean, when you graduate from college and you've got a big company with a big salary, with a training program, you're probably going to take that job, no matter if that's what you really want or not. But also when you're, in your early 20s and what you want is to be able to pay for your apartment. What you want is to be able to have something to do and dedicate yourself to and to learn. And so I look back and really just applaud myself for doing that work, even though I kind of knew that's not what I wanted. I just didn't know what else to do. I mean, everyone your whole life tells you what? Go get a good education and then get a good job. But as you know, Dave, good job is relative anymore. I mean, that is the career path for folks just entering the workforce is going to be drastically different than ever before. Right now, for the first time in modern history, there are 5 generations in the workforce. Everyone from traditionalists to boomers, Gen X, Gen Z, millennials. So all of us trying to talk to each other and then be on teams and be led and influenced by each other. Sometimes it works and sometimes it causes a lot of friction.
Yeah. Well, how did so you spent your first, 3 or 4 years out of school, big corporate job. But I know you started to do some more entrepreneurial things. I want to get into that. You decide to leave your corporate job and go all in and bet on yourself. What pushed you sort of over the edge to make that decision, 6-8 months ago now?
It's hard either way.
Yeah.
It's really hard working a job and being at a place that you don't really want to be and also work that you don't enjoy. That's hard. Every day it's hard. I mean, there's nothing about me that is like discouraged or low energy. But Dave, when I was in there, man, I was just like a deflated balloon. I was just not aligned.
Yeah.
And I knew that going all into entrepreneurship was also going to be hard, but I had evidence.
Yeah.
I'm extremely a data-driven person. So I look at data. I looked at my last 18 months of performance in my business, and I said, if I did that part-time, if I 2-3x that full-time, I will literally 2 and 3x anything that I've ever earned.
Yeah.
And that is outstanding. And so I said, now is the time to bet on myself. And betting on yourself is not an ordinary activity.
Yeah.
You've got to go all in with your time, with your talent, with your treasure.
Yeah.
We were just chatting here before we started recording that I made some serious sacrifices in order to do this, but it's paying off. I know that we were kind of, playing tag last month, trying to find some time to connect.
Yeah.
It's because I was on the road for 21 days, living my absolute dreams. And now I'm investing in the areas that I want to learn, that are specific and tailored to my skill set. And when you work for someone else, you really don't have that flexibility and freedom.
Yeah.
You can't learn what you want to learn and do what you want to do. You are responsible to the job. And I think if not now, then when? I think indecision is a very, very scary place to be. I've never been around a leader or someone who's very accomplished or successful that sits in indecision or operates more in doubt and fear than they do in faith and trying. And from all of the stories that I read and all of the data that I look at, no one that's ever been or done something successful has not taken a risk.
Yeah.
With no risk, there is no reward. But I knew that if I continued to sit, I felt like a sitting duck. I felt just completely underutilized and most days paralyzed. And I'm not saying it's a bad workplace. It was just a bad fit for me.
Yeah.
And if there's anyone listening that feels like that, it's time to make a change.
Yeah.
You know it. Your body will tell you.
Yeah.
Your peers will tell you. Your family will tell you. Your performance will tell you,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, when you're in your sweet spot, as I like to say, sort of what you're hardwired to do or genetically encoded to do, yeah, you do show up totally differently, right? And the energy, I'm a little bit older than you, so as you get older, I've been saying it gets harder to manufacture energy unless you're in your sweet spot. And so it doesn't mean even when you're in your sweet spot, you might have tough days, challenging days, right? But I think that's so cool that you had the courage to make that leap. And let's maybe talk about the genesis of that, because even when you still had your corporate job, I'd love for you to tell the story. I think one of the first things that kind of lit you up was MCing Fever Games, right? And so maybe you could talk about how that opportunity came about. I know there was someone at Pacer Sports Entertainment, president of the Fever at the time, that really kind of gave you that opportunity. So maybe tell us a little bit of that story.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. This just brings me joy every time I talk about it because I had to position myself accordingly. This was completely organic. That's also what I love about it. I had just moved to the city of Indianapolis, and this was also just post-COVID time. And so things were still kind of ramping up. And remember, that was when the Fever were near the bottom of the totem pole, because then the next 2 years, we got 2 number 1 draft picks.
Yeah.
And if you get consecutive number 1 draft picks, you know that before it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I was at a Fever game. Like I said, I just moved to the city, and I wanted to build community. And I think one of the best ways to build community is to just get closer to the things that you love. So if you love basketball, start going to basketball games, start playing basketball, join intramurals, right? If you love something else, if you enjoy crocheting, maybe you should, I don't know why I use that example, I don't crochet, but I've got some friends who do.
Yeah.
And so they go to those clubs.
Yeah, find your people,
Find your people by being one of them, And I remember, I'll never forget, I bought a ticket for this Fever game for $5. And I think I was in row 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And
back then, you could probably sit that close for
absolutely.
$5. Yeah.
Now you're not even getting that building.
For $5.
Nothing in the arena costs $5. I can tell you that. Anyway, I was in there for just a couple dollars in very much a rebuild season, or actually 1 year prior to our rebuild season. And I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. I'm not super like, oh, God told me or spoke to me, but I audibly heard in my mind and heart the Lord tell me to get involved. And it was almost surreal. I was there by myself, of course, surrounded by people, but I was in attendance by myself. And I just had this feeling that get involved, what does that even mean? And then I didn't hear anything else. And I say this so sincerely because that really happened. And I had been praying for something like that to happen. I've been praying those prayers like, God, please give me a sign or an opportunity. And so then my present mind kind of kicked in and I said, okay, well, I don't know how to get involved, but I need to connect with who? Like who can I get connected with? And so I just opened up my phone and I said, who runs this organization?
Yeah.
And I pulled up her name, and it was Dr. Allison Barber at the time.
Yeah.
And I looked around, I saw her, and I approached her, and very much like the story I just told you as we opened up, that's what I said. Hey, I'm a hardworking kid from Northern Indiana, got my education at Purdue, and I'm here working at a great company, and I just want to get involved.
Yeah.
And she started asking me some questions, what does that look like? Do you want a job? I was like, no, I have a job, and the other job probably pays me more, so I kind of want to stay there, but is there something I could do to help enhance the game day experience? And at the time, she was like, well, I don't know. And I said, okay, that's fine. Can I have your contact number and let's just stay in touch? And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Because when someone gives you their email or their number, you should probably use it.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, for the next months, continued to come back to the games. Remember, this was BC before Caitlin.
Yeah.
So it was not all the hype. This was before Aaliyah. It's not like tickets were selling out. I genuinely loved the community and I loved being in the building.
Yeah.
And this was also when Gamebridge was under construction or renovation for, in preparation for the NBA All-Stars that then we would host in 2024. And the first game I went to was at the Corteva Coliseum. up at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. And then the second game, because we were moving venues, was at Butler University.
Oh, yeah.
And one of my friends, Samson Levingston,
Yeah.
who I played some pickup basketball with, and I was just getting to know him at the time, he was the MC for the Fever. He was helping out with some games. And I'll never forget, he comes to me and is like, hey, do you want to play this timeout game with me? I'll never forget, it was a name as many fruits as you can in 20 seconds. And so much like I do today, I'm, playing this game with a fan. Okay, 20 seconds up on the clock and go. And I remember seeing myself up on the video board and I said, that's it. I want to be the MC. And I was like, Samson, are you going to keep being the MC? He's like, no, they just told me to do this because they needed some help. I said, that's it. I'm going to be the MC. Yeah. And so then I texted Dr. Allison Barber. I said, I want to be the MC. How can we make that happen? And she said, oh, well, we don't need anybody this year. So, well, next year you will. And so we will continue the conversation. Next year comes around, Dave. I was really busy with my brand marketing job at the organization I was with. And I'll never forget, I was laying on the couch, was dog tired, exhausted. And I remembered it's about to be WNBA season.
Yeah.
And it is time to activate. They pranked me, though. They said they were giving me a tryout or audition. Yeah. It was the first game of the season.
Oh, wow. That was your audition?
Yes.
They just threw you in, baptism by fire?
Absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
That's a great story because I feel like that is, I like to say, closed mouths don't get fed, right? All. And so you took it upon yourself to seek out Dr. Allison Barber and really your own personal agency kind of made that happen, right? After you sort of felt this nudge to do something about it. So that's so cool. So that started Fever MCing again before Caitlin. I know you've since picked up Pacer games. You do some Ignite games. Tell us about more. And then I want to get into, I know you do a lot more beyond just MC work now, but how did that start to snowball into what you're doing now?
That snowball effect really started with me doing the Indiana Fever season. So the first game that I did, or my tryout and the first game, it was May 13th of 2023. Okay. Because I remember when I got that date in my email, I got so excited. I mean, I was calling people, telling people. And at the time—
Was that Aaliyah's rookie year?
It was, yes.
Okay.
So they had just drafted Aaliyah Boston, and that was the preseason game, May 13th. And I go into the green room, and they greeted me. They were like, hey, really nice to meet you. And then we sit down and just start the production meeting. And I'm over here like, what in the world is going on? And I just kindly said, hey, is anyone going to help me and show me how to do this? They're like, yeah, there's another MC. He's really nice. He'll help you. He comes in, I'm pretty formal, shake his hand. I was like, they said you were going to help me today. And he's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. When the camera comes on, just talk. I was like, so this is the on-the-job training? He's like, yep. Yeah. And then he saw me do the first one. He's like, okay, do this, hold it like this, and, hold the microphone like this. It was funny. We're good friends to this day. We still work together, be Swift. But really, I was just doing my thing. I was doing my thing with the Fever. I was having so much fun. Yeah. Still, we're not wildly popular, maybe under 3,000 people at the games in total, but I was having so much fun, Dave, and I was getting better every time. After every game, I was watching my game tape to see what I could do better, to see what I did well.
Watching film,
studying. Yeah. And then I would send it to people. I would ask for feedback, because I was still so new to it that I would ask the VPs, hey, is there something I could do better? Or is there a better way that I can transition? Maybe can you feed me with some language to help me? And I just got better. Yeah. And then Pacer season comes around. I remember we were nearing the end of the Indiana Fever season, and I was sitting in our green room. And they said, hey, Olivia, what does your fall and winter look like? I was like, well, depends. Why? Yeah. And they said, do you want to do Pacers? And I was like, yeah. And I'll never forget walking through that tunnel for the first time. There was 15,000 fans, a near sold out game. Yeah. I was on fire, but I was prepared because I studied. Yeah. I was prepared because I did the work, and I was prepared because I just cared every single day. I performed every night in that place like it was full. And so it didn't matter there were more people. Yeah. I was ready. Yeah. And that's how that happened. And then the next year, NBA All-Star came around. I got tapped for that. And then there were
2024 when Indy hosted it.
2024. Yeah. And there was another time that really changed things for me. I remember I was attending an Indy Women's Fund event, an event that I actually was not invited to, an event that I just really wanted to be there. It was Allison Felix was the guest, and Tamika Catchings was also on the panel. And I remember at the time, I didn't buy a ticket for that event. I don't know. It was like a couple $100s, and at the time I just felt like maybe I couldn't or shouldn't or whatever. And I was one of the last ones out of there that night, and I'm sitting on the stairs, and someone walks down. Ebony Armstrong walks down. She's a VP with Pacers and Fever. She was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I was sitting there, and I was like, "I just feel like I have more to offer. I mean, I love emceeing.
Yeah.
Very grateful, but I just have more skill set and capability in my bag, and I'm just kind of unsure of what to do with it or how to get to that next level." And so we just had a really short conversation, and she was like, "Is there anyone that I can introduce you to, or is there anyone in my network that you think would be valuable?" And I said, "I think that I would like to get involved with some production agencies that maybe produce things outside of the stadium." Ebony sent one email. It changed my life.
Really? Wow.
The email that Allison Barber sent saying, "Hey, there's Olivia, this girl who's interested in MC," changed my life. The email that Ebony sent to introduce me to this, one of the biggest and best production agencies in the world, changed my life. And I just can't help to think that unless you're willing to put yourself in position ask for not just what you want, but also what value you can bring.
Yeah.
I always lead with value.
Yeah.
And that's why value comes out the other end. Because it's never about me.
Yeah.
I'm not the program.
Yeah.
I'm at the Pacers games and the Fever games to be the liaison between the fans and brands. I'm not there for me. You're not coming to the game for me. And Dave, I think that's one of the reasons why I've been so successful, because I'm not bigger than the program. I'm here to aid the program. I'm here to catalyze the development. I'm here to encourage people. I'm here to drive results. And that is why I've been successful.
Yeah, that's great. Well, now you spend about half your time keynote speaking or advising organizations, and then the other half of your time building brands, scaling companies, storytelling. Tell us more about that and sort of the types of companies or organizations that you're working with and where they're located.
Serving as a keynote speaker is definitely one of my favorite things to do, because for an uninterrupted hour, people are not worried about their jobs. They're not worried about their emails. They're not worried about the laundry. They're worried and invested in their development. And that's what I love about conferences. I know some people dread conferences. It's like, oh, we're just going to be talked to all day, or we're just going to be lectured all day. But I remember even myself in my early time at Purdue, I went to conferences to upskill. I went to conferences to take me away from the classroom and just catapult me into real world learning. And that's one of the reasons why I love keynote speaking, because I think it invites people out of their day to day and invites people to expand. It invites people to learn in a way that sometimes you just can't when you're just pounded with emails. And so my keynotes are centered on three things. Number one, competitive advantage. What do you, your company, your brand do better than anybody else? Is it your speed? Is it your quality? Is it your community centricity? Is it your data and analytic capabilities? Everyone has a competitive advantage because the marketplace is crowded. It's really noisy and it's very, very competitive. And so one of my signature keynotes is about competitive advantage. What does it take to compete and win at anything you do? I work with a lot of salespeople. I work with a lot of people who are in very crowded industries. Think about banking. Think about other areas that you have very high ticket offers and that you put a lot of time, effort, and energy into getting clients. How can we help you get them and keep them and serve them to the greatest ability? That is all within my competitive advantage pillar. There's another one around communication and storytelling. It is critical that we know how to communicate interpersonally, digitally, and even with ourselves. You know, how are we relaying messages? Because everybody talks, but not everyone is an effective communicator. And I've noticed a very large disparity in that, even generationally, how different generations communicate. I prefer talk, text, FaceTime over friends, right? But I'm extremely accountable to my email. And we all have ways that we like to communicate. We all have ways that we like to be coached as well. Now, I don't want anybody yelling at me when they coach me now as a professional, but I'm okay with feedback. I am, because
feedback's a gift.
Feedback's a gift. It makes you better. Now, do it tastefully, and please don't do it when I'm still performing. However, there's a place for that. And there are people that have permission to speak into my life. So I said competitive advantage, storytelling, and communication. And then the last one is finding your unique abilities. That gift identification. For me, that's made all the difference. Because I can tell you, there was nobody at my workplace that was concerned about my gifts and my skill sets. I had to take my own development in my own hands. And there is a way that once we identify what we want to be great at, that we have to take it upon ourselves and create frameworks and systems to help us elevate our performance. Whether we're elevating our performance as an individual, or we're elevating our team's performance, or elevating our company's performance, That is what I talk about.
Yeah.
And those 3 topics across generations, across industries, help people compete and win at anything they do.
That's great. How can people reach out if they're interested and maybe have you come speak at a conference or a company meeting? What's the best way to get in touch?
The best way to get in touch is definitely my website, oliviawestspeaks.com. You can send my team and I an inquiry form. I'm also pretty responsive on social media.
Yeah.
However, social media is still pretty social. Sometimes I'll post some basketball stuff on there too. But I am just thrilled every single time that I am trusted and gifted with the most precious aspect that we have in business, which is people.
Yeah.
None of this works without people. There's a lot of talk about, AI is taking people's jobs. AI is going to take the jobs of people who do not adopt and use it.
Yeah.
Calculators didn't take people's jobs. Phones did not take people's jobs, but it only further enabled us to connect, to communicate, and to solve problems. And I feel the same way about AI. Even though I don't give tech talks or anything like that, I bring the human connection into every single conversation and keynote that I have. Actually, Dave, what I think has made me a really good speaker, my ability to also be an even better listener. I listen and read and write more than I speak.
Yeah.
And I know that's maybe a bit tough to believe because I do a lot of external public speaking, but I read, write, reflect, and study far more than I speak.
Yeah.
And for me, that's become my new competitive advantage. I got on the map from speaking. I am now landing on the charts and scaling my business because of not just what I know, but what I can teach. And I think that has been one of the biggest transitions that I've seen in my own life and business.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, something I like to ask all my guests is about the role of mentors, right? And we all have people, none of us are self-made men or women, right? As much as some people might like to think they are, like people have spoken into our lives or believed in us before we believed in ourselves. And so maybe who's a mentor, maybe non-family, somebody that really believed in you and changed your paradigm for what could be possible in your life?
Yeah, thanks for this question because we've got to give people their flowers. It is so tough to carve out time and space to just invest in someone else's life.
Yeah.
And yet it is the best use of our time. And there were people really early on that did that for me. I actually remember the reason that I was able to have horses, Dave, was not because my family owned this big sprawling farm. It was because of this woman that my mom got to know, be friends with, and she had a farm just 3 miles up the road from me. And we actually rented a space for me to keep my horse. It was absolutely amazing, Dave. This just awesome pasture, rolling hills. It was called Orchard View Farm. I mean, better than I deserve. This place was just decked out. It had an indoor arena so I could ride my horse every single day all year long with these tough winters that we have in Indiana. It had a pool, so after we were done doing our farm work and stacking and baling the hay, that we could jump in the pool. And all of that was possible not because we had money, not because we had these things, but because we had relationship. And there were 2 people early on in my life, Dar and Ben Mannix, that were so kind to me, opened up that place and space to me, and I am so grateful for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They bought me my first laptop.
Wow. Yeah. That's special.
Yeah, it was when I was going to college. And I mean, I was just so blessed and happy, And like I'd never had a laptop before. And again, like we weren't poor, but you just don't buy expensive stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. That's what they got me for my graduation gift. God bless them.
Yeah.
For
Cool.
real.
You still in touch with them?
Oh, yeah. Good friends. Are you kidding me? They count all my stuff. Whenever I go home, I slide past the barn. But I mean, the reason I get so emotional is because they didn't have to do that. I mean, I was just a kid, It's not like I was some brilliant protege or anything. I was just a kid. I was just a hardworking kid that I'm going to college. Like, I need a laptop.
Yeah.
But they had no reason to buy me the best MacBook that they could.
Yeah.
And Dave, I could have easily dropped a bunch of names of CEOs that I talk with that mentor me, which is great. I'm extremely, extremely blessed by that. But I will never forget what they did for me and how they made me feel.
Yeah. And they probably forgot. People do those things and they don't even realize how that left a mark. So
it
I'm
did.
sure you've thanked them and reminded them of that just to
Yeah.
know how big of an impact that's really cool.
Yeah. So Dar and Ben Mannix,
Okay.
God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. To this day, they are still so invested in people, in loving people and showing up for people. And they did that for me. And I'm eternally grateful and I'm better for it.
Yeah.
I'm better for it. I feel I'm definitely going to send this to them because they deserve the shout out.
Yeah. That's great. Well, as we land the plane here, tell us about your involvement in the community. What lights you up outside your day job? And I know some of your day job now, you're touching a lot of nonprofits and community organizations. We're talking about Pascal Siakam's recent deal with Junior Achievement and some of the things that you're part of. But what are there a couple organizations that are near and dear to you right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great point. That I get to do so much mission-driven work that it kind of is all one and the same. I mean, Junior Achievement, I went to BizTown a couple months ago and visited. I was like, this place is a madhouse, but it's also a lot of fun and teaching some amazing life skills. And so I was able to visit BizTown, be there, and then work with them on behalf of Pascal Siakam's PS43 Foundation, where we threw this really awesome Trivia for Change event. And you know how fundraisers are. Sometimes they're fun, sometimes they're less than fun. But this one, Dave, I'm telling you, we did this thing right. It was packed out, completely sold out, every table full. And Pascal was there. He brought some of his teammates, and everyone engaged in a really fun game of trivia. And when I tell you, we asked everything from movies to music to fun stuff to I don't even think we talked about basketball stuff. It was so funny. But just really great community moments. And of course, I was in there guiding us through the evening and the program. And I think that there's some more traditional roles that I serve in sometimes as, the master of ceremonies up on the podium behind the thing. This was not that at all. It was very community, mission driven. We were doing some man on the street interviews with some students and some other, people who were in attendance. The entire Pacers front office was there. And when I tell you they are a committed group of people, they didn't just pop in and take a picture. They stayed. They played trivia. They bought lottery tickets. I'll add, they did not win trivia, which is kind of funny because all those brains on that table. But again, this trivia was so random. It was about movies and music and food. And it was great. I think what lights me up really right now is, Dave, I have about 8 to 10 students a week that hit me up. And they ask me for advice, and they ask me for what what they should do next. And as much as I don't know those answers, I can provide my story and my perspective. And what I've started to do, instead of taking one-on-ones, I've actually started to aggregate and streamline and say, hey, I'm going to do a monthly office hour. And I'm more than happy to answer these questions. Let's all hop on and let's learn together. Let's learn from each other.
That's great.
And that's what we do because I've got so much value to add. It's like, y'all, I've been there. I've gone through that. I did the corporate job, and I do suggest you do the same, really. I think any job is an amazing training ground for what you're going to do next. And so if there's someone listening that's working a job right now and they're like, I'm not fond of it, it's okay, but just do it excellently. Do it really well because it's going to be those same hurdles, those same roadblocks that you're going to face at your next one or potentially in entrepreneurship. I mean, there were areas of my everyday role that I did not really like and I didn't have affinity for. And now, guess what? I just don't have anybody to help me in them. And then if someone does help me in them, it costs me a lot of money, which is okay. There are pros and cons, but I very much feel that we are all best positioned to serve people in places that we once were. I was once a college student wondering, what do I do next? What is my next step? I'm well positioned to help them answer those questions, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm also going to do a lot of speaking around the country this year. That was a goal of mine. I do a lot in Central Indiana, a lot in the Midwest, but I want to spread my wings because this is a message that is not just, oh, I'm a homegrown farm girl that's hardworking. It's like, no, I have insights on some next level strategies about how to compete and win. And I want to spread that with people because that's going to help everyone elevate their game. And like I said, last month, I was able to take that message on the road, which was so much fun. And I've got some stops that are really, really exciting for me this year. Just next week, I'm headed off to Salt Lake City. I'm spending a lot more time in Los Angeles now. As you know, they've got the Olympics coming up in 2 years. They've got FIFA here in the near future. And they just have a really large talent market that there's a lot of opportunity for me. I'll continue to hold
you can travel. You just can't move out there. We got to keep you here in Indiana. So
that's okay. I mean,
I
I own my house in Indiana, so that's not going anywhere. I was telling you where I live. I love that place. I have a really, really great community. And I think that's what allows me to be successful in these other geographies is because I have a real sense of home, a real sense of people and community that are not simply geographically specific, but we are all tied to the common thread of being there for each other and showing up. And that's what the city does so well. For me to come out of school, to be moonlighting at my corporate job, to then leave that corporate job to scale my now company and business is stellar. It is fantastic. And I can honestly say there's no other place I'd rather be doing just that.
Great. Well, last question quickly here. I ask all my guests this question. How do you define success?
I define success as what I'm doing compared to what I should be doing. And I say this very literally because if I'm supposed to be running a business and yet I am working a job that I don't like, but I'm being scared doing it, even if that's a great company, if I stay in that place, that's not successful. It might be financially successful, but spiritually you're misaligned. Emotionally, you're drained. And so success to me is truly whatever you're doing to do the very best that you can on it. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has a quote and an idea that if you're meant to be a street sweeper and you're a street sweeper, you better be the best street sweeper that the world has ever seen. And I identify with that message very intimately. Whatever I'm doing, I want to do it to the best of my ability, to the nth degree, take it all the way there. I'm not interested in these things, Dave. I'm committed to them. And when it comes to speaking, communication, or even what I do through driven content marketing where I'm a partner, is we're going to take it all the way there. We're going to give you the best effort, energy, attitude, intention every day. And that's how you compete and win by leveraging your strengths.
That's great. Well, Olivia, thank you for coming on Talent Scout. Excited to see what the future holds for you. I know you're just getting started, and it's been fun to watch from afar and now get to know you a little bit. So thanks again for your time today.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.